Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our playoff edition of New York, New York. Yes, both teams are in it, Mets and Yankees. Playoff edition, New York, New York. Kenny K here with my good friend and co-host of many shows, Mr. Paul Rosen. How we doing?
Good. Good evening, Kenny. Good evening, everybody. Who would have thunk it? Both the Mets and Yankees are in the playoffs. The series have gotten started, and we're here with the playoff edition. We haven't been on the air too often with our Mets and Yankees shows, but hey, it's playoff time, so this is where it's at right now.
Absolutely. And hey, all around baseball, it's been exciting baseball time of the year. You know, every game, almost every game, has come down to the ninth inning. We just watched the Tigers. Uh,
Hmm.
Good friend Carson, you know, heard him all the way here in Maryland. I'm sure you heard him in New Jersey. Ninth inning home run, zero
Yep.
zero through nine, and Carpenter hits a 3-run homer off their closer. So it's been exciting playoffs for sure. Mets tied 1-1 with the Phillies. Yankees up 1-0 on the Royals. So we're going to get into both. We'll do about 25, 30 minutes on this show, and then we got a Giants show coming on right after it. So Paul and I doing double duty, but let's
Hmm.
get into it, Paul. Let's start with your Mets, how they got here, and everything like that. You know,
Yeah. Well,
leading into the playoffs.
for those who are fans of the New York Metropolitans, of course, you know that the Mets never do anything easy in their existence. So, just to sort of give you a quick recap, uh, the Mets went down to Atlanta back in September. They were supposed to play a 3-game series. They lost the first game, and of course, with that pending hurricane, they decided that to postpone the next 2 games, which was the right call. And just want to shout out to everybody who's been affected by Hurricane Helene. Our prayers are with you, and we certainly hope that everything works out the best way it can. And on that note, we also know that there's a big hurricane coming through Florida where I lived for 10 years. So we send all our prayers and we hope everybody stays safe.
Yeah,
Anyway,
absolutely.
yeah.
No, just
Anyway,
yep.
so the Mets then traveled to Milwaukee where they played 3 games. They lost the first two, and then they won the last game in Milwaukee, which then set them up to play a doubleheader back in Atlanta that next Monday, that following day. But the good thing was the Mets needed to win 1 game, and they would be in the playoffs. And that first game became an instant classic. The Mets were getting shut out by Schellenbach, who the Mets never touched the whole time they faced him in the 3 games in the regular season, and they finally took him out. And they wound up scoring 6 runs to go ahead 6-3. They wound up uh, losing 7 to were losing 7-6 going to the top of the ninth inning, and Francisco Lindor at that point may have hit the biggest home run in Met history, a 2-run homer to give them the lead 8-7. They wound up winning that game and getting into the playoffs at that point 8-7. They won and beat the Braves. So then they had to fly back to Milwaukee to start the playoffs the very next day, and they won the first game 8-4 pretty handily. Lost the second game. Was losing the third game going into the uh, top of the ninth inning. 2 on. Pete Alonso, who hadn't really hit at all toward the end of this regular season and into the last week of the regular season and into the first couple of games of the playoffs, wound up even more so probably hit even a bigger, more dramatic home run, uh, more than Francisco Lindor, hit a 3-run homer to right field to give the Mets the lead. They scored another run to make it 4-2, and they wound up winning the series against the Brewers and put them into the divisional round against the Phillies. And we'll discuss the Phillies and Mets series shortly.
Yeah, a couple hellos. Eddie Murphy, good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, Eddie.
Mets, let's get to the real team in New York, the Yankees.
Oh, God.
Just kidding. And then Kurt saying hello. What's up, boys?
Hey,
Major
Kurt.
League playoffs. Amazing. Knicks starting up. Big Giants win for you guys, and the Broncos are legit. We're coming, KC. Jody, replay horrible game one of Yankees game. 2 missed calls. I didn't see much of it, Jody, because I was working, so I was listening. So I don't know about the missed calls, but I'm going to believe you if you said it. They need to, you got replay for a reason. Get it right. And man, let me tell you, I watched the end of the Tiger game today, and yeah, it's down 3-0 in the ninth, 2 outs, 2 strikes, but the umpire called the strike 3 on a ball that practically hit the dirt. Carson's thoughts on that one. That was like 5 feet below the knees. He called strike 3.
Let
And he
me let
didn't
me
even
just
frame it. He didn't even frame the pitch up. So it's like it was just down there. He called. It's like, man, the umpire wanted to get out of here. That's for sure.
let me tell you, the Saturday Met Philly game, that home plate umpire was horrible. They said he missed like 16 calls.
Wow.
They rate them, and he
And
missed
that's no
16
excuse.
calls,
That's no
especially in the
excuse.
playoffs.
No, there's no excuse for it in the playoffs. Mark also saying hello. Let's go Mets, a
Hey,
fellow
Mark.
Met. I got Eddie and you got Mark, so we both got a fan right
All
now out
right,
there.
let's
So,
go Mets. That Mark.
well, real quick on the Yankees before we start getting into the current series. Yankees got in there. They would, they pretty much got lucky, in my opinion, with the Orioles team that struggled after the All Star break. So nobody really took control. The Yankees got a little better there. They had the cushion. Orioles struggled. Nobody wanted the division, in my opinion. The Yankees took it. Uh, Yankees, in my opinion, have an easy, and I don't want to say easy because it's, teams are in the playoffs for a reason, but they got the easier route to get to the World Series now with either the Guardians, Tigers, waiting for them and if they get by the Royals. And there's no excuse for the Yankees with their payroll and their talent that they can't get by these 3 teams in the AL Central to get to the World Series. They
Sorry
avoid the
about that,
Astros.
Carson.
Carson, sorry, it's a Yankee show tonight. Wednesday, you come back at me. But it's time, Yankees need to step up. It's now or never. And going to get into tonight's lineup and some players that definitely need to step up and some questions. And then we got some Mets stuff too. So we got, about 20, 25 more minutes of this. And then we're going to get into some Giants in a few. Jody saying robot umps ASAP. I think they need something on really bad missed calls. An inch or two off the plate, I'm not going to complain. But if you watch that game today, it was probably not going to mean the difference, but this pitch was 6 inches below the knees, and he called strike 3. That should get turned around and said, nope, that's a strike. That's a ball. That's ball 4. Let's continue this game. There should be some kind of replay there when they missed that bad. I'll give an inch or two, but not 6. That's unexcusable. Jody's an Astro fan. He's saying that was an embarrassing series for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paul, why don't we get into your current series? Oh, Eddie Murphy throwing out one out there. First game should have been a blowout on how many runners Yankees left on base. Very lucky, Eddie. I'm going to get into that in a minute. Very
Okay.
lucky, in my opinion, to get through game one, the way Cole pitched and that's that. But let's get into your series, Paul.
Okay.
You know, because you're already, you got the day off. Yankees are getting ready to start. They probably started
Hmm.
already. Uh, but let's get into your series, you know, versus the Phillies, game one and game two.
Okay. Well, to steal a Gary Cohen Met announcer line from 0-5 to OMG, and the Mets are now facing the Phillies. Most people know it's 1-1. The Mets won the first game, and I'll tell you, Zach Wheeler, former Met pitcher, who's now one of the best pitchers in the National League with the Phillies, just shut the door on them for 7 innings. They could not touch him, and they finally took him out, thankfully. And as soon as the Phillies brought in their actually all-star relief pitchers, two of them, the Mets just started rapping hit after hit after hit, and the Philly lead, 1-0 lead, turned into a 5-1 Met lead after a number of hits going through the batting order, and they wound up winning that first game, come from behind 6-2. So after winning that first game, they had another tough game to yesterday. Uh, Admittedly, it was a toss up between watching the Met game and the Giant game. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but because of the importance of the Met game, I watched this game. Mets were up 3-0. Uh, Alonso hit a homer. Mark Vientos, and we'll talk about him in a little bit, hit the first of his two home runs. They were up 3-0, and Luis Severino, as you Yankee fans well know, he's pitched a lot of postseason games for you guys, and he's been phenomenal for the Mets this year. It was a bargain that we signed him, and he's been excellent. Anyway, he wound up, he was sailing along, and then he gave up a hit to Trey Turner. And of course, Bryce Harper comes up, full count pitch, right over the plate, boom, home run, 3-2 game, then turns into a tied score when Castellanos hits a home run to tie it. Mets go ahead 4-3 on a Brandon Nimmo home run. Phillies go ahead 6-4. And then in the top of the ninth, the Mets, who have been coming from behind and scoring a lot of runs in those late innings, Mark Vientos hit a second 2-run homer to tie it up 6-6. And of course, the Phillies came back, and they're almost as good, if not better, than the Mets from coming from behind to win these late games. Wound up scoring a run in the bottom of the ninth inning and winning the second game 7-6. So teams come back here to New York. Game 3 is tomorrow. Game 4 on Wednesday, and uh, I don't know how many fans out there or how many of our audience remembers 1986 and the Mets facing the Astros. Jody, I don't know, you may or may not remember this, but Mike Scott, your Astros pitcher, was almost unhittable, and I think Zach Wheeler is the same way. I think the Mets, in my mind, must win these next two games because the way Zach Wheeler pitches against the Mets, we go back down to Philadelphia. I think that's going to be almost an impossible win. So in 1986, the Mets knew they had to win that sixth game against the Astros, or else they were going to face Mike Scott in Game 7, and he was almost unhittable. So I think they've got to win at home these next two games, win the series, don't go back down to Philadelphia, so they don't have to face Zach Wheeler.
A couple comments, another and a couple hellos. Mark saying he remembers Jody's seen many replays. And aloha from Patrick. Aloha, Patrick
Oh,
from Hawaii.
Patrick, aloha.
Patrick always sends us coffee from Lion Coffee, Royal Coffee out there in Hawaii, Kona blends. Great stuff. We will get you your Paul's address, Patrick, so he can enjoy some of that too. Always greatly
Thank
appreciated
you, Patrick.
and amazing stuff. Got a question from Oh, Patrick saying he wishes the Rockies could be relevant like the New York teams. Yeah, I think they
Yeah.
yeah, right now they're struggling, but they could turn it back around. They've had some good teams in the past. So every year, Patrick, we're seeing a surprise team. Look at the Tigers this year. Carson's
Hmm.
Tigers came out of nowhere. Why can't it be the Rockies next year? Diamondbacks were last year. Why can't it be the Rockies next year? So, you know, get some hopes. I think they're gonna do some things over there, turn it around soon, and hopefully they can be competitive and for a wild card or a division next year. Uh, Eddie wants to know if they remove Diaz as closer.
No, at this point, he's the closer. They're not removing him. Hey, they've gotten this far. It's sink or swim with Edwin Diaz at this point.
And Jody Paul, was that Joe Morgan on the Ash? That was Joe Morgan on the Astros, correct?
No, Morgan was not on the Astros at that point. Um,
Was it
he was
Biggio?
he. It was Craig. No, I don't think Craig Biggio was on the on at second base at that
Okay,
point. But Morgan had been traded to the Reds. He was part of the big red machine back in the 70s. But yeah, he had been an Astro, but much earlier than 1986.
gotcha. So let's get into the Yankees real quick, and then we'll throw some questions out there to wrap it up. Uh, Yankees, they get the Royals. The Royals, another surprise team. We just talked about the Tigers. I almost forgot about the Royals. So, Patrick, you know, there's some hopes next year for the Rockies with all these surprise teams this year.
Yeah,
The Mets, another one, you know, weren't supposed to
yeah,
get to the playoffs this year.
I
So,
didn't think so.
baseball is changing. So, and that, in my opinion, hurts the Yankees. Out of all these teams in the playoffs, especially in the American League, all these teams are playing the small ball. The Yankees are playing for like an 8-9 run home run fest, and I don't know if that's going to work in the playoffs with the strong pitching. They won a close one, 6-5, playing their C- game, and what I mean by that is Aaron Judge at the plate gets another F. 0 for 4, three strikeouts and a walk is unacceptable when it comes to playoff baseball. You're the number three batter. You're the captain. We've seen this before. Step up tonight, or I'm dropping him in the lineup, Paul.
Mm,
That's my start. I'm dropping him in the lineup. I'm gonna move Jazz Chisholm to the leadoff spot, Torres two, and maybe Soto three. I'm changing the lineup and moving this guy down because he's going to be a liability. And I hate to say that with a guy who hit 50 something home runs this year once again, but playoff comes, he's a liability. Uh, Carson, there he is. How about them Mets and Tigers, Paul?
yep.
Carson's bowling
Congratulations,
this evening,
Carson.
his entire bowling alley exploded. I'm telling you, Carson, I heard you here in Maryland.
Congratulations,
Congratulations.
Carson.
Great win for those Tigers and
Yeah.
momentum hopefully going to Detroit now. So,
Yep.
uh, and Jody wants to know, why is Judge so bad in the playoffs? I think he's pressing. I think I think it's pressure. I don't mind Jody if he's making an out and he's just missing a home run, or if he gets robbed, he's hitting the ball hard. I don't want to see the strikeouts. That's unacceptable. 0 for 4, three strikeouts and a walk is the unacceptable, in my opinion, Paul and
Yeah.
audience. And I
Uh,
say it all the time. Nick fans, he's no longer on the team. Nick fans that complained about Julius Randle have to complain about Aaron Judge because it's the same type of situation. Randall 25 a game regular season stinks in the playoffs. Aaron Judge 320 MVP in the regular season stinks in the playoffs. It's got to go both ways. You can't say, "Oh, Aaron Judge, it's okay," when it wasn't okay for Julius Randle. It's not okay for me. He needs to step up and be the captain and MVP of the league.
I have a question for you. Given what Judge did and Cole didn't pitch a great game, not bad, but not so great. Are you optimistic, given those two not doing so well with game one, that they still have a reasonable opportunity to beat the Royals?
Yeah, I think Cole's going to bounce back. I told you, and I told everybody. I think I hated the long layoff. The long layoff for Cole, I think, actually hurt him. I think he's going to bounce back next game. I don't expect another bad game from him. I am a little concerned about Aaron Judge though, because this is how many years in the playoffs now. We haven't seen
Mm.
this guy have a good playoffs, and he's starting off with an 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts.
Hmm.
Not against you know the best pitcher in baseball. The Royals are a good story, but they don't have elite pitchers. This
Lugo
is
pitched well this
Michael
year,
Waka.
though.
Michael Waka is not. You shouldn't be 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts against Michael Waka. Let's face it. So I need to see a better performance from him,
Hmm.
or it's going to be, there's going to be a team, the Guardians or Tigers or even the Royals, that are going to sneak up on us and may upset us here if Aaron Judge doesn't perform. So that Jody saying struck out two. He looked like a rookie hitting. He struck out two.
Mm.
Yeah. The back end of the lineup saved the game. Eddie saying Austin Wells again. Real quick, let me get and then we'll get some more Mets talk in. I have a problem still. And Joey Clams, if he was here, he'd back me up on this. I still have a problem with Aaron Boone. All right, I heard a stat that bothered me. Austin Wells. I like him. I like him as a catcher. He took over the starting job. One for his last 31. And you
Wow.
got him batting fourth in the lineup after behind Aaron Judge.
Wow.
So if there's anything, I would have been walking Aaron Judge, but for them not even to walk Aaron Judge in this game, showing that they think he's gonna, they think he have his number. Michael Waka had his number. We're gonna see Cole Reagans tonight for the Royals. See if Aaron Judge is a little different. But Wells came through with a hit. Bottom of the order, Gleyber Torres came through with a home run. So we won a 6-5 game in a Yankees style game. I don't think you're going to see those type of games throughout these playoffs. So the Yankees are going to need to step it up with their small ball to win some games here in the playoffs, in my opinion, Paul.
All right. What are your keys for the Yankees to win?
Keys for the Yankees to win is going to be Aaron Judge needs to get on base. Soto, I'm not worried about. Continue to produce runs and not worry about the home run. If you worry about the home run, you're going to get bit. So I want to see productive innings. I want to see Aaron Judge perform. And pitching wise, strong starting pitching, get us through 6, 7 innings. I don't want to see a long bullpen game. And, Weaver's been good. He took over the closing role. Clay Holmes had a nice outing in game one, so he might be another key to a game is Clay Holmes in there. Eddie's saying Rodon to go deep in tonight's game. Hello from Graham. Graham,
Hey, Graham.
want to welcome Graham to the K&K Sports Show team once again. For those who don't know, Graham's going to be joining us in a producer behind the scenes role on Wednesday's show. We're excited to have him. We had a nice show last week on his first show with us, and we'll see him on Wednesday behind the scenes. Jody saying, has DJ been officially benched for good? Yes, he has. At least in this series, Jody. We got John Birdie in the lineup today. I'll just read the lineup real quick, and then we'll get Paul's game three thoughts on the Mets to wrap up the show. I'm going to have my prediction tonight. I'm going to have the Yankees winning. I'm going to have them winning a lower scoring game. I want to see that, the playoffs have been tight. I'm going to say 4-2 Yankees win tonight. Judge does come through with a home run tonight. Bold prediction. We got
Yeah.
Torres, Soto, Judge, Wells, Stanton, Chisholm, Volpe, Verdugo, and John Birdie gets to start at first base tonight, Jody, instead of Oswaldo Cabrera. But your thoughts on game three to wrap up our Yankees show, Paul, before we take a short break for the Giants show.
Yeah. Listen, it's 1-1. Basically, if you can't sweep, at least you get the split. You come back to New York. Mets got to continue to do what they've been doing, manufacture those runs, have that length in the lineup, continue, you know, pass the baton, as they say. If they can get an occasional home run, hey, fantastic. But the way they've been producing wins is get that hit one right after the other, work those at bats. Um, the pitching is set. We have Sean Manaea going tomorrow against Aaron Nola. Mets have seen a lot of Aaron Nola over the years. He's been good sometimes. Mets have gotten to him sometimes. So I like the matchup. Manaea has been pitching lights out the whole second half of the year. And so from that perspective, I like that. Uh, the big performers, like you mentioned, Aaron Judge, the Mets have to get it from the guys that have been doing it all year. Lindor, hopefully Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, who's been pretty clutch coming down the stretch, and a kid that's going to turn into a superstar, I think, Mark Vientos. He's been unruffled being in his first playoff. So if they can get those guys going over the next couple of days, I think we'll be in good shape. Uh, Jose Quintana pitches on Wednesday. He had an unbelievable game against Milwaukee in that clincher on Friday. So I think we have a pretty good setup in terms of our pitching staff. David Peterson, who had a pretty good outing in relief, he's there also if they need him. So I like our chances tomorrow and Wednesday, and not to take anything away from the Phillies, obviously. The other thing I want to say is they've got to be able to contain Bryce Harper. As great as he is, they've got to pitch around him, in my estimation, the way sometimes the Yankees Judge gets pitched around to a certain extent. Every time they they face him, it seems like he's hitting a home run against us. So if somebody else beats us, so be it. But tip your cap to them. But Bryce Harper continually pounds the ball against the Mets. So hopefully, maybe facing some lefties, it'll be a little harder for him.
Gotcha. And then real quick, Paul, prediction: Dodgers Padres. Who wins the series? They're tied 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dodgers. I think they're going to win.
I'm gonna go Padres. I just think there's something. I think they got a nice deep bullpen. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go Padres, and then Guardians Tigers. I'm gonna go Tigers in 5 in dramatic fashion, giving Carson
Mm-hmm.
and Detroit fans, you know,
I'll go Tigers.
baseball heart attacks.
I'll go Tigers in 4. They'll win both games in Detroit, and they'll play you guys for the AL championship.
This has been a fun baseball playoffs for sure, all around
Mm-hmm.
for all of us, and
Yep.
let's hope it all can
Absolutely.
continue to the next round. And I say 5 because I really love watching this Tariq Skubal pitch more and
Mm-hmm.
more. You don't see him because you don't see many Detroit games during the year. But these playoffs, I've seen this kid pitch, and he is phenomenal. So
Yeah.
I love watching him pitch, and I'd love to see him in a game 5. I know Carson's hoping it's 4, but I want to see it in game 5 in dramatic fashion and get the Tigers to advance. But all right, Paul, anything closing out? Yankees tonight. I think what are you prediction on Yankees? They win tonight. Go
Yeah,
slow.
Yankees. I think they're going to sweep the Royals. Yankees in 3 is my prediction. Mets in 4.
I'm gonna have the Royals win in 1 game in Kansas City, but we get them in 4.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna take about a 5 to 10 minute, closer to a 10-minute break. Get set up for the Giants show, and we'll be back shortly with some New York Giants football talk. Thank you,
All right.
everybody, for tuning in to New York